really shifted was when, I was introduced to like alcohol at a young age and drugs at a young age.
Yeah.
That's when it really shifted. Then I met my crowd. And I go and get looked at, and they're like, yeah, you need surgery. You got a herniated disc, you got a bunch of bulging discs and all that stuff. So we go through the back surgeries, end up having 3.
Yeah.
The second one crippled me to a wheelchair walker. Like I couldn't just walk on my own. During that time, Ashley's going through a battle with Crohn's disease, having multiple surgeries, her colon removed, different ostomy bags placed because they're not doing, it was a lot.
I love it.
What's up, family? It's your boy, Chris Crump.
And Chizzy.
Man, we're here on the Boy Man King podcast, man, where the journey continues, man. Chizzy,
Yes,
how you
sir.
feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm excited about these recordings. I'm excited about this podcast, Boy Man King. Man, we got a lot of information to put out there, man.
Yeah, we got a special guest, man. Excited about today's guest. A brother I've known for almost 5 years,
Sure.
a man of God. Man, a brother that is not just a great husband, a great father, entrepreneur, but just a good man, man? And so welcome to the Boy Man King podcast, none other than Jake, the great Strickland, man. What's up, family? How you feeling,
Jake,
brother?
Man? How you doing, man? Good to see you, man. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Good to see you, brother.
Me too, bro.
Good to see
Me
you,
too.
man.
It's
So,
good to be here.
yeah, man. So let's get right to it, brother.
Yeah, let's do
Tell us a little bit about, in this podcast, it's really about understanding our childhood, our transition, right? When we thought we was a man, things of that nature. And then the plateau of understanding that you're a man and who you really need to be. And so we just kind of want to go all the way back to the genesis of that, man. And so, yeah, man, tell us a little bit about your
Who is
childhood.
Jake?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Who is Jake?
So I grew up in North Carolina, in Dunn, North Carolina, super small town, country town. And, growing up there, we had a little cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
So my family lived here, my cousin, so my dad's sister lived across the street. So growing up, the entire Strickland family, we meet at grandma's every Sunday. Just a
Okay.
typical American dream family, you know what I mean? Sports, athletes. We're all going to church on Sundays, eating at grandma's on Sundays. Just lived a really good life, man. No tragedy, no struggle. You know what I
Okay.
mean? My parents still married, until my mom passed away, a couple years ago. But everything was great,
Sure.
And then living that, and then growing up, I became a little more mischievous. Like I wanted to get outside of
Here we
that.
go. Here we
You know
go.
what I mean?
Here we
Like I
go.
wanted to. That was good.
Yeah.
And my morals and all that stuff came from that, but it just wasn't enough. Like it was too safe. It was too good.
Yeah.
I was seeing
Yeah.
other people do other stuff, and I was like, man, that kind of looks fun. And even as a kid, like riding bikes.
Yeah.
Just riding bikes wasn't good enough. Like I wanted to start jumping ramps, and then once I did that, I want to start doing tricks, and that led into adulthood, making bad choices the same way. So.
Yeah.
Kind of the Cliff Note version there.
So, childhood, North Carolina. You sounded like you was, you had a pretty good, pretty basic upbringing, I would say.
Oh yeah, for
But
sure.
you come across as slightly mischievous.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that as a child. What led you to take that different path? I'm not saying a negative path, but a different path to that mischievous part of you.
No, I think it was. I don't know, man. Like I'm like a go-getter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and I think that can be honed for something good. But if not, like if you don't do enough self-evaluation,
Yeah.
which as a kid, you're not doing that anyway.
not
You're
at
letting
all.
other people tell you things.
Sure.
And so other people are always saying, man, you're a go-getter. Anything you want to do, you can do. I'm like, man, all this stuff's cool. But like some of the bad stuff, some of the bad kids were doing looked fun. Like they were racing their cars or they were doing different stuff. And, I had to make a choice. Was I going to keep going on this path or this? And so I started to kind of just dabble,
Yeah.
hang out, drive by, talk to them for a few hours or whatever. But like when it really shifted was when, I was introduced to like alcohol at a young age and drugs at a young age.
Yeah.
That's when it really shifted. Then I met my crowd. You know what I'm saying? Like this was
Okay.
my crew. These
Okay.
guys were the ones I wanted to hang out with.
Okay.
And to most of the families around town, we were the good kids.
Okay.
Like kids would say, hey, I want to go to the beach this weekend. Jake's going. They're like, oh, okay, cool. Jake's going. And I'm like, I'm the one supplying everything. You know?
I'm curious, in that stage, sound like, the beer, the alcohol, that's kind of like teenager time.
Early teen, yeah.
Yeah, like, did you find yourself, because I know for me, I was vastly insecure as a teenager. Were you in trying to explore, or were you into people pleasing? Were you doing it to like, hey, I really want to fit in with this crowd, so that's why I'm doing it?
Yep.
Or I'm doing it because I truly want to explore and expand my horizons?
No, it was way more looking back on it now, it was way more people pleasing. And some of the issues I have now, even like trying to run a business and start a business, run a family, it's people pleasing. I want my wife to be happy, so I make bad choices for both of us because it makes her happy at the time. You know what I mean? And so but as a kid, I really wasn't into making bad choices, but that's what became of trying to be with the wrong people.
Yeah. I mean, I could relate. Similarly, growing up as a kid, bad choices. I was definitely a people pleaser, trying to fit in. I was always quiet, reserved, and so the crowd. And I didn't get into a lot of bad stuff, but I just found myself trying to just assimilate to stuff that I knew wasn't things I was supposed to do. A little bit about me: my dad's a pastor. Grew up in the church my entire life, similar to your circumstance, a family nucleus. But I kind of felt like this can't be. It's got to be something else that I'm missing, because I saw my friends doing things, and I just wanted to fit in. And it caused me to do some things that I didn't necessarily feel. I knew it was wrong. I knew I shouldn't have been doing them. But it just led me to people please, man. So I definitely can relate to that.
Right.
But North Carolina, man, there's a lot to get into, man. Small Bermuda is one thing, but North Carolina, I would imagine there are a lot of ways for a young man to really, really start to go down a path. Talk a little bit about what that path may or may not have looked like for you.
Well, I mean, it started like the good thing about when I was a kid before a teen, like being raised in the church and being forced to go on Sundays, being forced to go on Wednesdays, like it just wasn't an option. And even if my parents couldn't go, they were working or whatever, Grandma came by and picked us up.
Okay.
I didn't understand that at the time, and I don't even know if my parents did it on purpose. But now I see that as they led me there and they kept leading me there. Even though I didn't want to be there, I was hearing it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so I was getting something. And so moving into the teenage years and past that, every time I would go down this rabbit hole, whether it was just partying or it was drugs or whatever the case was, I would always feel guilty and come back to where I started, where I knew I needed to be. And it was almost like I'd find God again. But I couldn't tell anybody I found God again. It was just like, I'm not doing that stuff no more.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I want to people please.
Sure.
So I'm still hanging out with them, but I'm not doing the same things. And then I just get right back into it because I never changed my environment. But then moving into more like adulthood and being married at 23 and joining the Army and all that stuff, that was another shift in my life. Basic training was almost like rehab for me. It was a kickstart. I needed to get out of everything else I was doing still at 23. But, it was just, that was another shift to where I realized, all right, let me go back to where I started at, with God and all this. And luckily, Ashley was walking a life where she had gotten back on track with everything she was doing spiritually. And we connected. It was so great. And immediately, both of us fell right back into those old ways.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Thinking the Army's going to be great.
Yeah.
Nah, man, just another party.
So let's talk about a little bit of the transition from you really understanding. What point did you feel like it was you mentioned the Army, you mentioned marriage. What was a point where you really felt like I have transitioned, I'm a man? Like you in yourself said, now that I got here, now that I've done this, I'm a man now. What was that point for you?
So I think I felt it a couple different times in a couple different ways. I think I felt like I was a man when I graduated basic training. Like wearing that uniform at 23, like I felt like I finally made the step where I don't need my dad's protection. I don't need mom's money. Like I don't need nothing. I'm self-sufficient.
Sure.
I'm a man. I kind of felt that way when I got married. I've done it. Like I'm a man.
Right. Yeah.
But then having my family, I think the first time I felt like a man, father, like just all encompassing everything was, just seeing pictures of like me and my boys and my wife. Like that's kind of that, just like realization, like, all right, I'm a man. I'm a man. And I'm still trying to figure it out. But I think that I've finally come to that realization that mentally I feel 23 sometimes, but for the most part, like I feel like I've arrived, like I'm a man. You know, people see me as a man. You know, because I see the younger crowd and I feel like I'm still relating, I'm still cool, and then they look at me like crazy, like what is he? What's he saying? You know, like
you definitely got an OG beard on right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's definitely not a whippersnapper beard,
No,
bro. You know what I mean?
no,
That's
I've been
definitely
around
30 and up
a
beard
bit,
right there for sure. So the other part, man, like when it comes to, all right, I had my childhood, you know, and you had a little sports background. I mean, you know, I know you guys are good in sports. I mean, I'm a basketball player. He's trying to be a basketball player.
There we go.
And then you was baseball, wrestling, track, football.
boxing.
Boxing.
Yeah.
Tell us about the shout out to the boxing match, man. You know, I mean, the guns are out. I mean,
Yeah, we're ready.
it's actually cold. It's actually cold.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I got my hoodie on appropriately because it's 30 degrees.
You get hot setting up.
Yeah. But you know, the guns is out, so I know light flex. You know what I'm saying? But when is the fight? You know what I'm saying? Where is the fight? Well, how people can know more information about the fight?
Yeah,
man?
so it will be streamed. I don't know how they're going to stream it yet. I'm trying to help them figure that piece out. But April 2nd at Harnett Central High School in Andrew, North Carolina.
All right, awesome, man.
Okay.
And so that was, when you really think about it, that was a strategic reason why I sat on this side of the table and let him sit right next
Out of
to you,
reach.
just in case you have something, a reaction. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Just in case you have a reaction.
This is boy man king, man. Nobody out here trying to fight on the set, bro.
But getting back to, like, at the end of the day, as men, we can relate to the childhood adolescence. We can relate to these when you're in your 20s, you have these transitions of leaving high school or entering college or getting your job or getting your car, and you think you're a man. Now that you've come to this point in your life, you know, you've been through some stuff, and matter of fact, let's go there first. What have been some things that you really had to overcome? You thought you was a man, you're 23, but then life comes in, right? You married, child. Like, what's some things that you had to endure, bro, that kind of like blew you, like you couldn't even imagine that you would have to go through this, that you've overcame in your journey as a man?
So the one, and I got chills as soon as you started talking about it. The one is when, and y'all have heard this from the prayer line, but when me and Ashley were going through our health struggles. You know, like I've got the uniform now. I'm in the Army. I'm a man. I'm married. I'm a man. You know, I've deployed twice. I'm even more of a man now. You know, and then we get put on recruiting orders, and my back was jacked up in Iraq in 2011, and finally now I'm a recruiter, so I can get that looked at and not be shunned. And I go and get looked at, and they're like, "Yeah, you need surgery. You know, you got a herniated disc. You got a bunch of bulging discs and all that stuff." So we go through the back surgeries. End up having 3. The second one crippled me to a wheelchair, walker. Like I couldn't just walk on my own. And that lasted for about 4 or 5 months. And during that time, Ashley's going through a battle with Crohn's disease, having multiple surgeries, her colon removed, different ostomy bags placed because they're not doing. I mean, it was a lot. And we're in Tennessee, away from family. And our boys were 1 and 2, 2.5 at the time. So we had to send them back with her mom. And my parents too, to help out for about a month and trying to get through that. So like, you think you're a man.
I was gonna say,
bro, I had done a bodybuilding show too. Like I was feeling good, and then I had that surgery, and then it was just like, whoa, what is this? What's going on? And my manhood was stripped. I mean, everything. I couldn't work out no more. I couldn't hardly walk. I couldn't play with my kids. I couldn't have sex with my wife. I mean, everything that a man is supposed to do and be able to do, I couldn't do any of it. And I was just like, boom.
Humbling.
But man, that was when I had my one and only true physical, I'm gonna call it a physical encounter with God though. In that moment right there, with my wife at the hospital and me home by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like that was it. You know, and my wife always says, and she said this on a testimony that our church filmed, that she would go through all those surgeries and let me go through all the surgeries if it took to get me back to that spot with God. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's how it goes, man. Sometimes things have to be completely stripped down, bare naked, as we talk about in the line all the time, getting bare naked so that we can actually get back to that space.
Well, that's my life. Like we talked about my childhood. I had to hit rock bottom on everything I did. It wasn't just drugs and alcohol, but it was like I said, the BMX stuff, the sports. I had to just try to push it as far as I could, you know, and that was good and bad.
Wow.
And so as I look at, I'm part of, we have King Light Skin, shout out to King Light Skin, PJ in the back, you know what I'm saying? I'm part of the Light Skin Club, Chizzy is not a part of that.
No.
Yep.
And you are very light skinned, but I do want to talk about the realities of you being one of those brothers, man, who literally fellowships with people outside your race heavy. And I told you, man, I've always had this incredible respect for you because I see if the roles were reversed.
Right.
Right? When I really hard flex, like have deep conversations, deep connections with somebody who is not in my race. And you're really one of the very few significant Caucasian brothers that I have, man. And in the country of America, where the undertone of almost everything is race-based, man.
Yeah.
Really help us understand your mentality of how you are able to overcome that and engage in a real, authentic, brotherly way with brothers from a different race.
Man, I don't.
It's in you hard. It is.
It's a hard one to answer because the easy answer is like this is me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just I don't know how to explain other than that. But if I try to think about it, it's more of I didn't experience racism growing up, and now I'm trying to overcome it and really be involved and all that. And I'm not out there doing Black Lives Matter protests. Really like that's not me.
Yeah.
But what I am about is really helping people.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I've always had a servant's heart. And then being a man and realizing I'm a man, I was like, I need to be around other godly men. Go to a conference, I'm introduced to a prayer line where there's mutual connections. Prayer line, man, I get on there and listen to a bunch of dudes pray. Like, what is that? I got on the first one and started laughing like within 10 minutes. I was like, this is just a bunch of dudes talking shop. This is awesome. This is what I missed about the Army, that camaraderie.
Yeah.
I didn't care what color people were on the line, and I didn't even know what color everybody was on the line.
Right.
After about a week, I was like, I think I might be the only white dude on I think I might be the only one.
Yeah, shout out to the prayer warriors, man. You know what I'm saying? Flexing the shirt, man.
But yeah, that was. But for me, it was. What better spot to learn? Like, you want to watch the news and learn what's going on. You want to do this and learn what's going on. And I was in before all that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But to stick around through that was difficult at times.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing this every day. I'm on the prayer line, then I'm hanging out with a bunch of white dudes, then I'm on the prayer. You know what I mean? I'm hearing both sides.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to juggle at times.
Right.
But I understand first that everybody, we're all just human.
Yeah, I was
you know what I'm saying?
Like, collectively, that's why we come
That's
to
it.
the line. Because it's about the relationship.
really
It's
that
about
easy.
the brotherhood. Because, society wants to have you put you in a box and say, hey, because you look a particular way, you have to act a particular way and associate a particular way. But, just being in association with guys from the prayer line who have a unified perspective and feeling and brotherhood, that transcends ethnicity, race, all of that. I'm from Bermuda. We make the Bermudian jokes. We talked about Gumbays earlier. We'll get into Gumbay later on.
Yeah.
But all of these things unify us. There are more things that bring us together than separate us.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So,
And that's kind of been the real connection for me, is that I relate a lot to Jake. Jake relates a lot to me. And like, you realize that, man, these stigmas and these paradigms have been put on you and projected on you.
Yep.
And you just kind of accept them. And I kind of want to transition to that now. Like, when you're talking about being a king, when you're talking about being a man who is purposely intent on, I'm looking over my horizons, I'm seeing what I'm responsible for, and I'm trying to push the envelope. I'm trying to expand my reach and expand my influence. What are some core values, some core principles for you as a man that you're daily conscious and intentional about influencing those that are around you in your immediate circle and beyond?
Man, the biggest one for me is character. Like, that's a big one for me. And then like right up under that, if not even with that, it's just integrity. And so like character for me is just, that's the thing that kind of goes before you. You know what I'm saying? That's your reputation. That's everything. That's, if you have a reputation of being late for work or whatever the case is, that's your character. You could be the greatest person in the world. Yeah. But if your work ethic doesn't match it, it's like, what is this character?
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so I started to see a shift in that before I joined the Army in my early 20s. There was a guy who was a chef, John Mike, one of my buddies, and he got in some trouble, stopped cooking, started working at the furniture store I was working at, and that's how we met. I called out one day because we were at the beach. I was living at the beach in Wilmington. I called out one day because I was sunburned fell asleep drunk on the beach.
Right.
Couldn't go to work the next day because I was so sunburned.
Yeah.
And he found out that I called out because I was sunburned. And he didn't even know me that good, but he let me have it. He's like, bro, sunburn, I've worked when I was sick doing this, and he's my age.
Sure.
And I'm like, man, this dude's giving me a lesson like he's my dad.
Yeah.
But from that moment forward, I was like, wow, my work ethic really says a lot about me.
Right. Yeah.
I can't say I'm this great dude. I was this athlete. I put in all this work, and I'm over here just hanging out, calling out at work sick and all this. And that shifted everything for me.
Sure.
And so now, like, the character, like, I want it to show, but also that's just who I am. Like, I'm just a hardworking dude. I'm going to get it done. You know what I'm saying? But then my integrity that goes with that. I'm not always going to get it right, but I'll let you know up front. You know what I'm saying? If I mess up, I have no issue letting you know. I call my own bluff.
So I get that you got the character, you got the integrity, but what is that thorn in your flesh, man, that you still struggle with? It still shows you that you're still human like the rest of us. What is that thing that keeps you like, man, I still got this thing I'm still working on overcoming? Because I think people don't realize that, yes, you overcome this and you get to this point and they think you've arrived. And a lot of times we don't have the frank conversation. I'm still pushing forward, but I'm still dealing with X, Y, Z. Like,
As we all are.
Yeah.
We
Man,
all
probably
have to.
pride, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I know we talk about it a lot, but I think it's just that pride of, like, and it's not prideful in the sense of, like, winning and losing type pride. It's just that pride of, like, I don't know, like ego. You know what I mean? Like, again, people pleasing plays into that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's, I think pride for me has been big. So, like, when I am prideful at times, especially with my wife and arguments and things, I stick my chest up.
Sure.
I don't hear you.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting to say what I need to say.
Yeah.
And then it's just a bunch of like, all right, I'm done with this. And we walk away, start our day. And I'm like, man, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and even with my kids, did you hear what I said? Yeah. Yes, sir. Come on, man. What's up? Like, what's up with you? You know, like, it's just that pride, that ego, like, you know, and it's just.
Now, I got a little pushback on that one, though. Because I was telling somebody the other day, shout out to Wifey. Wifey in the back helping us out. She knows that I struggle with pride too, but sometimes people, particularly people, don't understand what you're trying to do. Like when you say your children, hey man, don't say yeah, say yes sir. Like I sometimes get critique on my parenting about like I'm pretty. I would say between us, you know what I mean? I'm the hard parent. Like,
let me make sure I get it right.
Yeah, like she would say, do you want me to tell your daddy, right?
Right.
So I'm that parent. Like if enforcement needs to happen.
Oh, for sure. My wife would be like, all right, I told y'all, here he comes.
Yeah, like so she knows just to call that card, right? But it's a purpose behind it. That's not me being prideful to show my kids that I'm your dad and look how big.
Right.
No, it's really just showing you have to be very mindful of who you're talking to, how you're talking to them, how you're responding, and what you're doing when it comes to the people that's taking care of you, to your father and to your mother. Like, that's not an emotional decision. Right. That's not a rash decision. No. That is something that I understand. When you leave me, you're going to have to know how to put a boundary when it comes to your faith and listen to what your father had told you when everybody else is saying something different and you feel like doing something different. So sometimes people are like, man, you could have just went and did that. Why you have your child? Because I'm training my child. I'm training that they have to. The only way you grow is being uncomfortable and being inconvenienced. That's the only way you grow. And as your father, it is my responsibility to create multiple scenarios throughout the day where you're uncomfortable and inconvenienced. I went up to my daughter this morning and I was like, baby, we about to record the podcast. Come watch Pep. And she soon opened up, she said, I'm going to clean this room by the end of the day. She knew that was the first thing she had to say. Now, anybody else would have cared. That wouldn't have been her first response, but she understand, like, you have to show me that you're grateful to have your own room by being a good steward over it. That's the principle. It's not about actually cleaning. You get what I'm saying? Sure. And that's a little bit of my, when you say pride, when it comes to how your child responds.
Right. It's a balance.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, because that's essential today because I think that is part of the challenge that the world is projecting on men who are being patriarchal over their homes, that's toxic masculinity, that's unnecessary, and everybody's trying to finesse manhood out of the home and out of parenting and out of society. It was like nothing is stern and established and protected without that.
No, it's not.
If a country goes to war today, we're going to deploy 500 troops. How many of those troops going to be men compared to women?
Well, the first ones that are probably going to be all men and maybe a handful of women.
Let's keep it a buck. Yeah. But how many women are going to debate? Why you ain't send me?
Right.
Send us. That's the one time they go, no, let's just pray.
For sure.
And I just pray he comes back home safely. Because it's going to be time when you're going to really want a man to be a man.
Right.
When you in a house and you in a neighborhood you uncomfortable with, you locking every single door, every single window. Mom, when I'm here, my wife is she sleep on the couch. Oh, babe, you know what I'm saying? Because she know a man's here, so I ain't gotta triple check. If I'm not here, she's like, I gotta lock up everything. I gotta double lock everything. So stop trying to water down that power and authority and trying to control it, and let it be and respect and honor it. You know what I mean? So that is where I go, nah, bro,
sure.
that is not.
Well, hey, that was like the other day. My wife called me. She's a real estate agent, so she called me. She's like, man, I'm in a pretty bad neighborhood. It's kind of sketchy. I don't have my gun with me. Da da da. But who did she call? I can't do nothing about it. But she called me.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? So but I told her that when we first got married, I said we might not ever be the most financially stable. We might not be millionaires. All this stuff. I said, but we'll always have food.
Sure.
And you'll always be safe.
And be safe
I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
You'll be fed and you'll be safe.
Yeah.
And
Other than that, we'll have to figure it out. But
I mean, at least get 2 shirts, man. If you get 2 shirts and a pair of socks, that'd be nice too.
Yeah.
Society is pushing that narrative, man. Society is pushing the narrative that women don't need a man. That's just the reality of society where we are today. And of course, we have recognized that we know what it's not. That's not how it's supposed to be. No. God didn't even institute family, man and wife is there for a reason. And there are things that I can do, and there are things that my wife or my girlfriend, my partner can do. There are things that I can't do, and that's why it's in place, because we have to recognize the roles in what each gender plays. And society, again, wants to have you feel like, she could do it, she don't need you. And we've gotten too far away from the real family nucleus, because God charges men with the responsibility of the family and the direction of the household. And at the end of the day, we have to be, we are held to account first before a woman can be. Yeah, man. So it's critical. Yeah,
man. And I want to say this, Jake, what is some of your, when you think about, look, at the end of the day, this is my final thought, what I really want to convey to the world about who I am as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a believer. What is that ethos? What is that narrative? What is that love you want to share with the world?
So for me, and this is something that I've recently really just started getting on, and I have to give myself a lot of grace, and I've learned that through my wife. She's always preaching about don't be so hard on yourself, and she's preaching to herself because she's very hard on herself. But I just hear give yourself grace, and to me that's always been you're making excuses. That's a Christian way to say excuse. So I'm just giving myself grace. I'm gonna have these cookies. You know what I'm saying? No. But I understand what it means now, and so I'm trying to become and teach my boys to always strive to be more of a godly man. And it's not just about I can teach you how to open doors for people. And yes sir, no ma'am, and that makes you a good man and whatever. But I need you to be a godly man because I need you to be better than me. But if you do slip, I need you to always remember where to start back at. You know what I'm saying? Where to always come back to, because it's never going to fail you. You know what I'm saying? He's never going to leave you. Everybody else is. You know what I'm saying? The addiction will leave you. It'll come back to all that stuff. But he will never leave you, and he'll always be there. Always. And I still don't get it right. You know what I'm saying? I still mess up. And there's still people that I want to share the message with. This is a good way to do it because I can send them the podcast and I don't have to do it face to face. But there's buddies that I've served with that I want to talk about the message with. But I'm not at a place yet where I can do that. You know what I'm saying? And that's just a fear of rejection. You know what I'm saying? But I have to give myself grace and know that I'm getting there because I am doing it here. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I've learned a lot from the line of just nah, bro, you got to let it out. You know what I'm saying?
So tell us, man, You got a media company, man.
Yep.
Like, tell the people what you
Business
got going
Jakes. What's
on, man.
business
Yeah, man.
Jake got
So
going
Grunt
on?
Media Solutions was something that started a little over a year ago. We just finalized the LLC and everything like that. But it all started with shooting videos on my iPhone and making videos for the Army. And then they bought a bunch of equipment and trained me how to do it. I get medically retired from the Army, don't know what I'm going to do. And it's like, man, I'm going to start doing videos full time.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome.
Yeah,
You know
what's
what
that
I'm saying?
journey like, man?
It's tough. I mean, you know, like being a creator,
Sure.
you know, is one thing, and then setting up for a podcast is totally different. Shooting
Yeah.
an interview is different. You know, shooting a promo is different. So there's always that challenge that I need. I need to feel that challenge and that
Yeah.
fear of like living on the edge, almost like I don't
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I'm doing, but
yeah.
I'm gonna figure it out.
Sure.
I have to live on that edge, and the video thing that allows me to do it. So now we
Yeah.
have clients like real estate clients, roofing clients. Just a lot of window tinting client.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of different stuff that we're doing with a lot of different industries, which is fun because you get to learn a lot. And then your network. You know what I'm saying? I had a roof leak. Who'd I call? My roofing client. Came over
Yeah,
on his
see.
day off. The owner came over and fixed
Yeah,
it. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Hey, that's not good enough. We'll send some more guys to replace it. Hey, send me the bill.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been fun, man.
Good,
It's been
man.
good.
Good. That's a blessing. That's a definite blessing, man. Media. I mean, we see your work. We're here. This is your set. You know, you're part of a big part of this production. You know what I mean? And so we definitely wish you well. Success. What's the future here for Jake in terms of me? Like, what you got coming on the pipeline?
Man, we got I got one of my first big weddings coming up. I'll be doing with a buddy in June down at the beach. That's gonna be fun. A few other things where we're talking to some different people about like 6 month long contracts where the pay is substantial more.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But it involves a lot more work, a lot more
Yeah.
people. So that way I get to grow a team.
Okay.
Right now I'm a one man band with a couple of people I outsource some editing to. So I'm trying to really mentor a couple different people so I can eventually pass it off and start shooting documentaries, which is what I really want to get into. Like I
Okay.
want to travel and do documentaries.
Yeah, nice.
So if I can build this thing up, boys graduate high school, me and the wife are going shooting documentaries.
Sure, yeah.
So
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing. We still boxing or what we doing? You took a
I
little
don't know,
break?
man. We'll see, man.
No,
April
yeah.
2nd's coming. You know?
Yeah?
I might get knocked out and not want to do it again. We'll see.
How's
This
that training looking, man? How you feeling?
It's tough. I'm
Yeah.
feeling good though, man. It's just, you know, it's a bucket list thing. I'm going there to have fun, man. At the
Yeah.
same time, I'm trying to
Yeah.
knock dude out.
Sure.
It's all fun, but ding, ding, ding.
And on that note, man, the Boy Man King is just grateful to have a conversation about a man of God, you know, a man who's a husband, a man who's a father, a man who's about building a community. And we had some great conversations about race and about childhood, about this journey of overcoming obstacles in your marriage. But more importantly, man, it's just about not trying to be a good man, not just trying to be a good dude, and not just trying to be a good, but a godly father, you know. And I love what Jake shared with us, man. And for me, it's so inspirational and so inspirational for you to understand that there's always levels to it, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're trying to do. But the cool part about it, he still struggled with the pride. And I can relate personally, man. And I understand that's an everyday battle because we're wrapped in this flesh, man. So we're with you in this journey. We want to encourage everyone to continue the fight, to continue to empower our men to be the men of God that they was born and purposed to be. And we'll see you the next time on the Boy Man King podcast, man. Jake, appreciate you, bro.
Yes,
Yeah, man.
appreciate you.
Shout out, man. Catch you guys next time.
Yes, sir.